Welcome to our first episode of the Champion Charities series, featured by Glimpse, A New Perspective. My name is Ethan Turner, and I am the Glimpse CEO, and this is a series where we interview charities who are champions and then champion their causes, their efforts, their successes, and even their failures. We're calling on you, though, to help them succeed. If their work strikes a chord, or if their story pulls at your heart, be sure to follow up in the comments if you feel you can help, and we will connect you. Now, to our first episode.
If you want to just introduce
Sure.
yourself, let's hear about what you're doing.
Hi, Ethan. Hi, everyone. I'm James Dodson, and I'm the founder and board chair of Arizona Squash. And I always got to say it, but I'm talking about the game, not the vegetable. We use the game of squash to engage young people for after-school tutoring, cultural enrichment, and civic engagement. And the problem we're working to solve is how young people survive and prosper in underserved, underfunded public schools mostly. And in Arizona, that's a tricky thing. We are supporting students at a charter school now and working to get them through college debt-free and to be career ready once they graduate.
Interesting. So squash. Now you're gonna have to tell us exactly how you chose squash. What is the founding story behind Arizona Squash, and what made you choose squash to help out in this way?
Squash is a fantastic game. It's actually the #1 game getting fit and staying fit around the world. And it's a game that I picked up when I lived in Washington, D.C. many, many years ago from a mentor of mine, someone who supported me in succeeding in my early years in my career. And at the time, I was working in Washington, D.C. I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, and I knew nothing about this sport. But, he asked me if I wanted to play, and I said, sure. And, 35 some odd years later, I'm still playing. But it's just a great sport. It's a lot like racquetball. It's a game that's played 2 players on a court, in a box for the most part, working to best each other with regard to making shots. The big difference is that, racquetball is played mostly in the United States. Squash is a global game. It's played around the world, and outside of the United States, it's played much more like basketball, football, soccer, in public spaces. So it's very accessible. In the United States, it's really only played in private clubs, around the country. It's a mainstay of Ivy League schools and boarding schools. But unless you have unless you're a student at one of the schools, or you can afford to pay the entry fee to one of the clubs, you'll never see squash. So it was a game that I picked up and was fortunate in doing so, and just was able to continue to play. And 35 years later, when I'm back in Chicago, a young squash pro asked me if I'd be willing to help start an urban squash program. And again, something I hadn't heard about, but I heard a little bit about it, with the starting program in Boston, and knew that they were doing well and had done well with kids in the Boston area and supporting them and getting into better schools. And I knew that's something I wanted to be a part of.
For our last question, I just want to ask what we're calling our ACS. What are your major accomplishments? What are some of your major challenges? And if you had one big magic solution to solve your problem, what would it be?
I think, we started our organization about 9 months ago. And at this point, we're really excited because our major accomplishment has been pulling together a partnership that involves Empower College Prep, local elementary school, the Family Life Center at North Phoenix Baptist Church in North Central Phoenix, where they have racquetball courts, and we're working to convert to squash, and Grand Canyon University, who are supplying us with tutors, as well as looking to create a club team for the university. And I think that's a great package with regard to our kids being able to see college students, to engage college students, to compete, on court amongst themselves and with other urban programs, particularly in California, where there's a number of urban squash programs. So there's within close proximity, there are places to go and travel and experience other kids.
Sure.
So that partnership is really high on our list, and we're really looking forward to expand upon that. And I apologize. That other part. What's the other question?
The second part of the question is, what are your major challenges?
Is really identifying donors in the valley. Our urban squash programs really depend on squash players who are fairly wealthy, and there are a lot of them, but most of them are on the East Coast
Mm-hmm.
or in Chicago. Arizona doesn't have as many squash players, and we're really looking to find those who are wealthy and have a willingness to give to a program like ours.
Mm-hmm.
That's our biggest challenge, really identifying donors, whether they're volunteering on court or in the classroom or giving to us financially. But really, we're working to support them in reaching us, doing well with us, and we're certainly about acknowledging them and their support for our program.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way to give back. I mean, we're all squash players are very passionate about the sport. Uh, that's the joy of it. It's just a way of giving back.
For sure. So then the last question of the ACS is, if you had one magic solution to solve the problem that you feel Arizona squash and Metro squash has been solving, what would that be?
Seeing that our kids are confident in their court abilities, they're confident in their classroom abilities, and that they are free to travel the world and enjoy, engaging with other people, particularly people in their own communities. Civic engagement is a big part of what we do and how we envision our people participating in the world. It's an opportunity for them to give back as well. And I think in a nutshell, that's a big part of it. I mean, our goal overall is to see that our kids graduate debt free from college, and more importantly, are career ready so that they have a good footing as they step off of the college campus and into the world and the rest of their lives. Squash is a lifelong sport. And I think education, education these days is a lifelong endeavor as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's all the questions that we have. James, I want to first just say thank you for taking the time, and I want to say thank you for allowing us to share a glimpse of what you guys are doing, and to look into how people are changing the world in unique and just miraculous ways. So thank you for everything that you're doing at Arizona Squash, and James, I hope to keep in contact with you. For anyone that's been listening and following in, if you have any suggestions or ways that you could help out with what's going on here in Arizona and what's going on in Chicago with Metro Squash and Arizona Squash, please feel free to leave any comments, any posts, and if you, I'll be helping James get in contact with people who may be posting on our page. So thanks again, James, for all of your help, and we'll hope to talk to you soon.
Ethan, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. No problem. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Champion Charities series. Be sure to follow our page and our featured charities page. If you have any resources or you feel that you can help, drop a comment below and we will be sure to connect you. For the extended interview or for any other videos we've created, follow the links below. Once again, thanks for watching the Champion Charity Series.